Hey guys, quick reminder before we get started that the world's largest arena for sports and collectibles is back in New York City this summer. Catch the return of Fanatics Fest from June 20th to the 22nd in the Javits Center, where you could share the floor with the biggest names in sports. That means appearances by over 500 iconic athletes and celebrities from your favorite teams like the Knicks, Mets, Yankees, the Giants, plus live panels and podcasts, exclusive merch collabs, and a trading card area with 200 of the biggest dealers in the biz, and so much more. Get your tickets today. Use the link in the description. It's from your friends here at Knicks Film School, from our friends over at Fanatics. It's 20% off. Use promo code Knicks Film School 20, and that offer is good. It's been extended just for you. It's good until June 4th. Again, that's Knicks Film School 20 for 20% off. You can get a 3-day pass over the weekend or a single-day admission on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. When the world's greatest athletes are in New York City, don't miss it.
All right. Welcome to the Knicks Film School Postgame Show, the last Knicks Film School Postgame Show of the 2024-25 season, presented, of course, by Fanatics Sportsbook. I want to start off before we get to Jeff Jay's coming on. Andrew Claudio is here. We're going to get to them in a bit. Start off by offering congratulations. It is absolutely through gritted teeth that I do so, because as I have shared many times over the last few weeks, there is no team in professional sports that I despise more than the Indiana Pacers. And we start off with a congrats to them. They were needless to say, a worthy opponent. And I don't think that there is any question that they were the better team in the series. And I understand that that is a controversial statement, and it is a statement that I want to get back to in just a minute, because I think it lies at the crux of why this is going to eat at so many Knicks fans, despite the fact that on paper, this season was a nice accomplishment for the Knicks. I was watching this game with my wife, because our older daughter had a sleepover, and she got the younger one to bed around halftime. And so we watched the whole game together. Second half, we watched just the two of us. And then in the fourth quarter, as she was like, as it was started to slip away with like whatever it was, 4 or 5. I mean, you could argue the game started to slip away in the beginning of the third quarter, but as it really started, as the possibility of a win started to slip away, she's like, "Oh no!" And like again, it's like, "Oh no!" And she's like, "Oh my God, baby, I'm so sorry." And I looked at her. I'm like, "Why?" I'm fine. And it's never a good sign when your significant other, who I think my wife has probably watched, I mean, she's watched a handful of games with me this postseason, but I don't know if she even watched a handful of games this entire regular season. It's never a good sign when they are more upset about the end of a season than you are. Especially when they get their husband back for at least whatever it is, the next 4 or 5 months. And yet that's absolutely the case. I'm not upset. And I think that's the only place that I can start. I mean, especially since we just watched a basketball game played by a team that, if you're watching this, you probably love them like I do, gave us every reason to not only be upset, but be downright angry. And you go out there. I don't know what the final turnover number was, but they took as poor a care of the ball as you will ever see any team do in a situation like this. And it was, what do you say about it? It was maddening. And yet, as it was happening, I wasn't mad, because for two reasons. And this is going to get back to the statement I made about the Indiana Pacers a minute ago. And it's interrelated. Number one, and for anybody who watched the post-game from game one of this series. You can attest to the accuracy of what I'm about to say. I used up all my emotion after that game. And it was a season's worth of anger that was bottled up into those final 3 minutes of regulation. I don't know that I have ever been as angry after a basketball game as I was after game one. And I find it very fitting that I have not been fully emotionally invested in this series at any point in time since the end of game one, because, look, game one will be at this rate. We'll probably be talking about it for as long as we've been talking about, 8 points in 8.9 seconds, or, the Charles Smith blocks, or, a couple other plays from the 90s. That end of game one, you just, as I said that night, you can't give that game away. Not in a series this close. You just can't do it. And they gave it away. And because they gave it away, instead of a night like tonight, where the team kicks the ball all over the Indiana Pacers home court, being up, it's 3-3. We got to go back and we got to win it in game 7 in our own building and have a great chance to do so. No, now we're going home for summer vacation. So that's half of why I'm not upset. And the other half of why I'm not upset is because I find it frankly fitting that a team that we have said all season long, look, they have the talent to beat pretty much anyone. The pretty much anyone was reserved for Boston, and they beat Boston, which is, again, it's like you can't write this stuff. They had the talent to beat pretty much anyone. And all season long, despite having the talent to beat pretty much anyone, and more than the talent, having a genuine level of it's the words we've been saying the whole postseason, of grit and toughness and perseverance. And we saw little snippets of that in this game here and there. It obviously ultimately was not really enough. So despite the talent and despite really having that level of perseverance, the other side of the coin for this team, from opening night all the way through the regular season, through the Detroit series, through the Celtics series, and without question, in this Pacers series, the other side of this coin is that this team was incapable of not beating themselves. And I thought, from that perspective, to go out there and end your season, or have your season ended in the way that it did tonight, in which the Pacers played a wonderful game. Take nothing away from them. And they played a wonderful series. Take nothing away from them. But to hand an NBA Finals appearance to your opponent in that fashion, how can I be mad at the universe doing something that is so eminently appropriate? And more than that, if we have gotten to this point, and yes, game one is the most standout part of what I'm about to describe, which is why, for me, all of this ties together. I developed over the course of this season, as I think a lot of Knicks fans may have, a certain defense mechanism, and I've referenced it several times throughout this postseason, and certainly several times throughout this series. Why I love this team. I admire this team. I respect this team. I respect the individual players on this team. There's going to be lots of conversations about what they do this summer and who they bring back and who they don't bring back. If they brought back everyone and just tried to add to it, you know what? I'd be fine with it. So what I'm going to say here is not a disparagement on the 24-25 New York Knicks. It is merely an acknowledgement of the truth, which is that this is what this team's DNA is. It is what their DNA has been for this entire season. A level of maddening inconsistency and inability to take advantage of prosperity. It is as baked into their DNA as the perseverance and mental fortitude that it took to come back from down 23 times in the same postseason. It is all in there. And I know that there's going to be a lot of fans who are A, very mad, and B, extraordinarily disappointed in how the season ended. I personally, after having lived with this team for the last 7 months and having accepted gradually over that time that, oh, this is just who they are, I just don't have it in me. And which is why I was able to sit there next to my wife and say, you know what? I'm fine. And which is why I wasn't surprised by how tonight turned out. And which is why, to bring this all together, I could sit here at the beginning of this postgame and show and say the Indiana Pacers were the better team. Because being the better team does not mean having the most talent. Did the Indiana Pacers have the most talent in the series? No, I frankly don't think that they did. And if the Knicks had played up to their capabilities, and if the Knicks did not have the brain farts that they had, and if the Knicks were not their own worst enemy on far too many occasions, they would have won. And if my mother had wheels, she'd be a wagon. So I sit here in not even begrudging acknowledgement of one of the most maddening teams that we have ever watched. And look, I don't know what tonight's going to be. I have a feeling I know what the tenor of tonight is going to be. The last two elimination nights have been really more celebrations of the accomplishments of those particular teams. One, because they went out fighting, and Brunson had the game that he had against the Miami Heat. Even if people thought they maybe should have won that series, that team was just ahead of schedule. And again, Brunson played a great game, and there wasn't too much to get too upset about in that game because they left it all out there on the court. And then last season, they were just a walking wounded. This season is not that. This going out like this against this team is going to leave a lot of room for a lot of anger. And we will honor that tonight. I don't know how much sentiment tonight is going to be appreciation for this franchise or this team making it further than they have in the last 25 years, and for giving us so many great memories along the way, even if those great memories were almost a byproduct of the frustration that I'm sitting here and talking about. I don't know. And whatever it is, it is. And whatever it is, it is. But last thing I'll say before I bring on Jeff and Andrew, truly, for me, the most fitting end to a season that I can remember. And I look forward to talking more specifically about some of the individual players and their performances tonight, because there's a lot to talk about there. But before we do that, we bring Jeff and GMAC up here, or just Jeff for now.
No, just Jeff.
Just Jeff. GMAC is going to join us in a bit. Jeff, hello, sir. How are you? Oh, I can't hear you, and that's probably because I did something wrong, unless you're muted. Hold on.
The host has unmuted my mic.
There you go. Let me just say hi. How are you?
I'm chilling, man. Chelsea Football Club will be in the Champions League next year, so they will be playing for European football competition, and they had an awesome season. Kind of similar to the Knicks, a lot of underachieving, but unlike the Knicks, they were able to get it together at the end, at the very end, in order to secure their claim. So, but yeah, man, I listened to your monologue, and I if I could retweet it, I would. I don't know how you do that on YouTube, but if I could, I would. Game 1 is going to haunt this 24-25 team and this franchise and the fan base, unfortunately, forever. Because in a series that was pretty much a pick'em, you cannot give away games. And I even said, hey, I think each team is going to give one game away. Knicks gave away game 1. Pacers gave away game 3. The way in which they gave up game 1, which was pretty much as guaranteed of a victory as you can get, is what's going to haunt them. Because while the Pacers could say, yo, we were up 3, we were up 2-0 in the series, we let go of the rope, blah, 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 blah. Game 1 set the tone for the whole rest of the 5 games that followed.
Jeff,
so
could you argue that that even though it didn't feel like it in the moment, game 2 was the quote unquote normal giveaway game, and then game 3 was the giveaway game for the Indiana Pacers? I know they didn't lead.
I get what you're saying,
but if
they would have won game 1, we probably are talking about 2 and maybe even 4. They stretched out a little bit at the end. Yeah. 2, I get it. They still had a chance, and there was enough fight in game 2 where I can't say they gave it away, but it was similar to game 2 against the Pistons. However you felt about game 2 against the Pistons, copy and paste it to game 2 against the Pacers.
Yeah, I guess what I mean more, maybe giving it away is the wrong way, but if they won game 1 and then they lost game 2 in the exact fashion that they lost game 2, I think people would have been angry, because I think that the sentiment would have been, we had a golden opportunity to go up 2-0 and you kind of blew it. Again, that's maybe a little bit different than giving it away, but you get what I'm getting at here. Right?
I definitely understand that 1,000%. The difference is we saw them do it in round 1. They actually did better in round 2 by winning the first 2 games on the road. So for me, that would have been par for the course, because once again, this was a pick'em battle. So I would have both teams were phenomenal on the road.
Yeah.
So I expected the Pacers to win at least 1. So we could have argued about that and debated, we probably would have been saying those same things. It's just, I hate when players pick the worst possible time of the year to have their worst games of the season.
We're here already. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, I just hate that. You pick the worst possible time. And what makes game 1 so damaging was that this would have been a scheduled game 6, Pacers defend their home court, force a game 7 in Madison Square Garden. This was textbook. So if you could have washed this away like you washed away game 5 and defended home court with a chance to go to the finals in game 7. Now we're once again harping back to that game 1, because the Pacers came out focused, serious, and defended their court. They were hawks on defense. They looked more organized on offense. It was, I don't know what was a foul. I don't know what wasn't a foul. I don't know what, it was vacillating between the type of contact that they were letting go, but it was clear the refs were doing everything in their power at one point to let the players win the game.
Yeah.
Whether it was to the detriment of one side over the other, whatever. But John, we've been talking about these damn turnovers. I don't think I've cursed at my TV more than I did in this game, because 34 points off 17 turnovers. And some of these turnovers, it wasn't even, if it was like they were getting ball pressure turned over, blah, 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 I'd say, okay, they're just meeting a force and they don't know how to counteract it. It was the most lowbrow, low IQ, nervous looking turnovers that I have seen from professional basketball players who individually shouldn't be doing all of that. And it was just, you know what's my main idea for this? The team as a collective, from coaching staff to players, all picked with the exception of OG Anunoby.
Shout out to him.
I don't want to hear shit about his contract anymore.
No,
not a thing.
He came up.
Not a thing. Healthiest year. Showed up. One of the main guys who showed up tonight. I don't hear nothing about him no more. Coaching staff players picked the worst possible time to let your worst proclivity show up in a game. And with all of that, you still had a chance.
Yep.
And nothing.
So, yeah, I mean, let's get into it because we could go in a few different directions to start. It's either Towns or Brunson. We could go in one of two directions to start. And so the defining stretch of the game in the third quarter, I thought we saw Towns' inconsistency, Towns' defense, Towns' general townsiness was the biggest individual culprit during that stretch. And then as the game ultimately was lost for good in the fourth quarter, once again, it was Karl-Anthony Towns' defense that took center stage. So Karl-Anthony Towns defensively in this game, after what was a pretty good Game 5 performance from him, turned back into a pumpkin. And Karl-Anthony Towns for a decade in the NBA has alternated between pumpkin games and non-pumpkin games. He's going to play probably another 10 years in the NBA. My anticipation would be for that the entirety of those 10 years, it will be the same alternating back and forth. And more than, if you want to boil down the skepticism about whether Karl-Anthony Towns is ever going to be able to be a prominent player on a championship team, the fact that you just don't know when you're going to get a pumpkin game and when you're going to get a legendary performance, because he's capable of those too, I think is probably just the best summation of it. So yet the reason I'm not sure if we have to start with Towns is because, again, anyone who's been watching Karl-Anthony Towns for his career knows that, like, a game like we saw tonight, which, by the way, ended up as a fairly efficient performance. He scored 24 or 22 points on 19 shots. Actually, that's not efficient, but, like, you get it. I mean, 4 missed free throws, 2 turnovers, 8 of 19 from the field. But, like, he got some buckets there, and, like, he gives you stuff like, well, he's doing this, he's doing that. No. He picked the worst possible time to have one of his worst games of the playoffs. The Brunson piece of it, sound like Bill Simmons. The Brunson part. Did you expect this tonight from Jalen? Because I would have bet anything that he wasn't going down like this. And I don't even know how to describe this, but it wasn't anything like I anticipated. And, like, we're not going to sit here and, like, kill Jalen Brunson. It was just, again, because Game 1 went like Game 1 did. This isn't, all right, Brunson had a bad Game 6. We know he's going to be there for Game 7. No, this is the way that Jalen Brunson now goes out, which is unfortunate for him, and I feel bad, but it is what it is.
5 turnovers. I didn't expect that. If I would have bet my life that he would have a game like this, you would have been hosting this show with a ghost.
I don't mean to laugh, but that's actually
no. I mean, this is that's why I don't bet my life on games.
It's a great line. Yeah.
Yeah. He's been so phenomenal that just regular good or even average seems so horrible.
Yeah.
When he puts that up.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he was getting vilified for a game 4 that I didn't even think was, like, in retrospect, put it to you like this. He doesn't put up Hallie's triple single stats ever in the playoffs.
No.
Ever. And they were talking about him as if he was the sole culprit for why the Knicks were in the 3-1 hole. And what does he do? He has another performance, 32-5.
For the ages.
Where the only people he's been compared to in this playoff run for the Knicks have been top 75 players, top 3 players. Yeah. They just dropped the graphic. The NBA just dropped the stat that it's him, SGA, LeBron, and Jordan.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know that stat. Oh, wait, no, that stat holds up.
Yeah, the 30 points in 5 assists.
Yeah, the stat that GMAC put up after Game 5, which is the averaging 30 points in at least, I forget what it was, I think 14.
Oh, this might have took him down.
That took him down. So unfortunately, he's not going to be on that list anymore. But you know what?
But he was.
But he was.
Like, he's just been in rarefied air in this whole playoff run. And it's the theme that you had, John, about disappointment. It's just disappointing. I think a lot of folks on this team reverted back to their bad habits. And I think with Brunson, I think he got frustrated by the fact that they were letting everything go. And you know what? No. I get it. But at this point, we're at Game 6. You were going into their house. You had people on their platforms floating conspiracy theories about the NBA potentially giving the Knicks this game. So you don't think that Tony Brothers and them had it in their mind? Not on our watch. Y'all not going to say that we're point shaving or we're tilting the scale to the Knicks. It's diabolical. But at the same time, they let that contact happen. You got to be better. This is where your greatness has to be transcended. Yeah. And in this game, in Game 6, doesn't mean that he had a horrible game. Doesn't mean that he was, I'm not shitting on him in any way.
Yeah.
But in this game, you did need him to be type transcendent in order to win, and it didn't happen.
Yeah. And look, he's the point guard of the team, and they lost tonight because of turnovers. They lost Game 4 because of turnovers. And I feel badly saying this, but look, I know a lot of shit happened in Game 1. I said it that night. The biggest of all of the things that went wrong, and I still don't understand why he did it, was Brunson passing that ball to OG Anunoby. And look, here's the good news. No, this will not eat at anybody more than it will eat at Jalen Brunson. And we've said it every offseason, and I'll say it again now. Or at the end of every previous season he's been with the team, and I'll say it again now. He will come back, and he will be better. And he will use this as fuel, to continue to make him the best player that he could be. I have zero doubt in my mind about that. And we ride or die with Brunson all the way. You mentioned a couple quick things because I got to get out of here for a bit to go on SNY. But you mentioned OG Anunoby. You praised him. I'm happy you did. Mitchell Robinson, best player in the first half. Other than OG Anunoby, probably the best player in this game. They're not close in this game in the first half without Mitchell Robinson's efforts.
Dominant. Force of nature.
They couldn't do anything with him.
It was to the point where it was all hands on deck on the offensive glass for the Pacers. Part of the reason why they were running, they were getting in transition, they were running after misses. But with Mitch on the court, they couldn't do it as much because he was gobbling up everything. And for that first quarter, for everything that happened in that first quarter with the turnovers, the bonehead plays, leaving people wide open for 3. All the things that plagued them in Game 4 and in Game 3 to an extent when they went out to that 20-point lead.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
If Mitchell Robinson by himself kept it close enough so that the difference would be 1 after the first quarter. I am so happy for Mitchell Robinson. I'm so happy for Mitch, and the fact that you had folks trading him for Valanciunas at the deadline. People were scared about his injury history. Think about this, John. The 2 biggest question marks injury-wise are the 2 people who stepped up the most in this game. OG and Mitch.
Yeah.
Shout out to that medical staff. And I don't know what y'all doing, but please keep doing it.
And speaking of injury question marks, a guy who was out for several months in the beginning of the year, obviously any NBA team could have picked him up. Then he went back with the Knicks, was in the rotation for a bit, didn't go great. The other guy I want to praise is Landry Shamet, because Landry Shamet was a massive part of what was working for you here in the second half of the series. Goes out there and it's some really good big plays, really good minutes from him. Sadly, I think that's about where the praise has to end. I'm looking at, so it's kind of funny, and I'll leave you with this, and then maybe you and GMAC could pick up here. Josh Hart, fewest minutes, I think, of any game. I mean, non-ejection, non-foul trouble, like big time foul trouble. Has Josh Hart played fewer minutes in a game as a Knick? Forget this season as a Knick. If he has, you probably count him on one hand. Would be my guess. So 22 minutes, and yet felt like too many. It felt like too many because this was now 3 in a row for Josh Hart that were stinky poo-poo, to use an industry term. And yet I'm looking at Deuce McBride. Deuce McBride missed both of his shots on the field. If I'm going to think about a play from this game, I will think about the out of bounds call, which Benji tweeted about this. Like, we sure that was out of bounds? Because they showed the replay, it didn't look like it, and I wonder, could they have? I don't even know if you could challenge that. I really liked McBride's minutes. It gave them an energy on defense. But again, we could have said you could say that almost any game McBride plays, and he had 11 tonight. And there's going to be a lot of discussion tonight about the coach. I don't know if there's going to be a real conversation about the coach over the next couple days, weeks. I don't know. We'll probably get those reports out soon. But yeah, wasn't ideal. And on that note, I have to leave you for a little while. So I'll
put on the suit? You gonna put on the suit? You gonna put on the suit?
I am throwing on the sports jacket, but GMAC is having some Wi-Fi issues. Jeff, are you okay taking the panel solo for a minute?
Yes, sir. I got it. I definitely got it. Okay. I know your faithful listeners might be a little bit annoyed.
No, man,
we rocking out.
GMAC will be right back up, and I will be back hopefully within the next 10-15 minutes. Okay, peace out.
All right, let's do it. Enjoy. Wear your good suit, bro.
I got it right over here. I'm putting it on.
All right, y'all. So let it all out. Let it all out. We gonna talk. I tell you pretty much from me, I enjoyed this season. This was probably also the most frustrating season. One of the most frustrating seasons I've had as a Knicks fan, only because I feel as if they had the talent to go to the finals. I've always believed that, but they were their worst enemy. And I've seen it recur over and over again. This game is a microcosm of the entire season. Felt like wasted talent, wasted potential. They don't show up in the biggest moments. You don't know which team you're going to get on a particular day. It could be the team that we saw tonight, or it could be the team that we saw game 4 against the Celtics, game 6 against the Celtics, game 6 against Detroit, game 5 against the Pacers. Either way, you were getting, it was as if it was like the craps table. If any of y'all play dice or play craps or any type of game of chance, you know that you are at the mercy of the dice. Whatever the dice roll, you could have your own type of roll. You could blow on the dice, do whatever. You could have an incantation before. It don't matter. You are at the mercy of the luck of the dice. And I felt like as Knicks fans, we were at the mercy of the luck of which team was going to show up. And in a series like this, that was razor thin on the margins, no matter what Knicks fans wanted to believe, these Pacers were showing you who they were throughout the playoffs. And even since the beginning of January, they stepped up. They've been one of the best teams in the league since the turn of the calendar. And I do think the teams were pretty much evenly matched. You got to win on the margins. Those Thomas Bryant threes were hitting me like gunshots in the chest, like shotgun shells in the chest. Their bench stepped up. I wish we could have saw a little bit more of our bench on the Knicks side. I wish we could have did that. Didn't happen. And our top two stars, the Knicks' top two stars, were the ones who needed to have good games in order to succeed. And that just didn't happen, man. That just didn't happen. So I'll go look at the box score right now and tell you some of the stuff that pops out for me, right? First off, I know this is going to sting Celtics fans, but when we talk about the 3-point shooting, this was cleaned up a lot in garbage time, so it's whatever. But the Pacers were plus 24 on threes in this game. And some of their looks were too wide open for my taste. And this is a game they lost by 17, 24 points off of three, plus 24. 34 points off of 18 turnovers. That's the game right there. It's like a comms razor. Sometimes the simplest answer is the best answer, is the most correct answer. It's the best answer you're going to get. 17, we knew they had to come into this game and limit the turnovers. 18 turnovers, 34 points. They turned over the Pacers 13 times, 13 points. A point a turnover. Meanwhile, the Pacers got nearly 2 points for every turnover. Maddening. Bench points plus 18, but this is a recurring theme for the Knicks, so that's not really that jarring. Plus 15 on fast break points. You're not going to beat these Pacers in this way, man. You're just not going to. I'm interested to hear from y'all. What is your favorite memory from the season? What you think the Knicks need to do? What disappointed you about this game? What you thought could have gone right, gone better? Because I tell you, I kind of emotionally detached from the team after game one because that loss was so devastating. And I had a feeling if they lost, this was going to be the loss that came back to bite them, that I was just watching as a rooting interest and saying to myself, they need to pull it out, especially after all the front running and histrionics that the Pacers were doing. I was hoping against hope that they would be able to come through. They sold in game 6 and now we here. See what's going on. All right. I think we're going to get GMAC on in a second.
Bro,
Mr. Claudio, are you there? I can hear you.
Yes, you can hear me. Okay, Mark, add the other me to the stage, please.
Oh, I got you.
There we go. Can you see me?
I can see you.
Okay.
Flip your phone, bro. Flip your phone, bro. We doing production over here. Flip your phone.
Yeah. So, apologies, folks, for the poor internet connection. Now it's not even connecting to Wi-Fi. My internet is as effective as the Knicks transition defense tonight, it looks like. So, unfortunately, this is how my contributions are going to be. Jeff, can you hear me? Is my internet
You're
bad?
good. You're good. You're good.
So, while I can speak, I'm just going to say this. Tonight sucked. We're all talking about game one, and it's what I'm going to remember about this series, probably, of those last 3 minutes. What I want to remember about this playoff run, and it's the silver lining that I'm going to try and inject into this post game and into the conversation for the rest of the offseason. Please let's not forget that Friday against Boston. Please let's not forget what that was like. That moment, that party we had on the post game, that party we had all weekend. I was high-fiving Yankee fans the next day because I was wearing a Knicks hat. Like, the way this team can bring this city together cannot ever be forgotten. And game one sucked, and it's something they're going to have to live with and hopefully overcome. And if you want a second silver lining, for me personally, Jeff, there is something to the Pacers having a crushing 4-game sweep last year. They blew game 1 in Boston. I rewatched that fourth quarter a couple days ago, that game 1 Indiana against Boston last year, where Indiana had 2 turnovers in the last 40 seconds when they were winning the game by 2 possessions and gave up that 3 to Jaylen Brown. They had leads in the final minute of 3 of their losses. Mm-hmm. And they were able to overcome that a year later. They went and used that as motivation to come back and win it a year later. They had conference finals collapse experience to use this year. The Knicks just got here. It is now on them to use a series that, frankly, they should have won as motivation to come back and take the next step next season. So that's hopefully all that came through. I know I'm having internet issues.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I would tell you otherwise. You're good. You're good.
All right,
your LP is strong. So you can stay on and rock on.
Cool. That's my sentiment for tonight, Jeff. Like I'm annoyed about how this game went. I'm annoyed about how basically from 3 minutes in the 3 minutes left in game 1 on went in this series, outside of the last 14 minutes of game 3 and I guess all of game 5. But I'll still never forget what it was like watching game 6 against Boston, against that city, against that franchise, ending their reign as champions and getting to celebrate that whole weekend with this city. It's something I won't forget from this playoffs. As frustrating as I echo all your frustrations, all the frustrations about this franchise and about this team this season, they at least gave us that moment, and I thank them for that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you injected the hopium into the post game, because that's where that was the next exit on the highway. Understand this, and I know I've been rooting for this team for decades, like many of you. If y'all are young in this Knicks fandom, I envy you, because this is your only real source of pain. This is your only real source of pain. You didn't have to watch your Heisman winning point guard get power bombed in Miami and then subsequently see 3/4 of your team get suspended for coming off the bench, when that could have been handled a totally different way and cost you probably your best chance to knock off Jordan's Bulls. You didn't have to suffer through a lot of those other tough playoff losses. So I envy you if you're young in this. But one thing I will say, this team was built to beat the Celtics, and this team beat the Celtics. And better than that, they beat Boston. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals. If I told any Knicks fan at the beginning of the season that you would go on to losing 6 games in the Eastern Conference Finals after beating the Boston Celtics, you might say, well, you probably would have expected the Cavs to do it, given the way everything had went. But before the season, if I said that, you probably would have been like, damn, what happened? You know what I mean? But they were able to get
connected to what?
What's up, Andrew? Can you hear me? Andrew, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, because are you supposed to be on mute? Because I can hear you. I hear you talking.
Go ahead.
Got you. All right, so like I was saying, damn, what the hell was I saying? Oh, yeah. Before the season, we knew that we figured this team would be like a top 2 team in the East, should get to the conference finals with the amount of talent that they had. They should get to the conference finals. That's what we wanted to happen. And it happened. You ran into a good team, and 2, the year oneness of this team could not be overcome. And that's what's disappointing, because I'm going to keep it real, Andrew. The expectations did change. Given the situation, the expectations did change. They beat the Celtics. There was no Cavs there. It was Indiana. It was a team that a bunch of us have been harping on for the last year, that they beat a wounded team. And if they saw the Knicks and they saw the Knicks healthy, the result would be different. And the result wasn't different. And they have no one to blame but themselves. They gave that game away. They absolutely gave that game away. They gave the series away. But when you look at the history of the NBA, I'm old enough to remember when folks was talking about potentially breaking up the Heatles after they sold in the NBA Finals their first year and were Ray Allen 3 away from selling in year 2. There was talks about breaking them up until they got together. There's tons of other examples of teams. You can look at the Pacers like GMAC told you. You can look at the Celtics and how they pretty much have been in this position. They were in this position for like 5 or 6 or 7 years. They lost a series to Golden State in the NBA Finals. They should have won. You feel bad that the Knicks should have got to the finals? Imagine the Celtics in 22. They should have beat that Warriors team. So there's been tons of examples of teams in year one or in their progress that have smoked away opportunities who have come back stronger and been able to win. I like this core. I like this group. I still think there is a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of tweaks that need to be done. And what a lot of those teams have in common, even the Heat for that in a smaller sense, they made the necessary adjustments in order to reach the next level. And this is what's going to be probably the most annoying offseason in this current iteration of the Knicks, because there have been debates raging about what they need to do with this team. And if there was ever a time where Leon Rose is going to have to earn his paycheck once again, it's figuring out what went wrong, what needs to be tweaked, what should get better, and make it happen. I hear an echo, by the way. Are you switching over to the other?
Oh, wait, I'm here now. No more echo.
There he is.
So, Jeff, I thank you for holding the fort down.
Of course.
I heard the last part of that, and I think that's a perfect transition. Hey, we got DJ here. What's up, Deej? Although Deej's mic isn't connected, we're operating.
You know sign language, Deej, because otherwise.
No, we're operating with about as much care and precision as the Knicks did.
Deej, this is game 100. You turning the ball over at this point of the season, Deej? The Wi-Fi issues at this point of the season, Deej? It's not like, come on,
Jeff. I want to jump in because I heard you say, it's going to be up to Leon Rose to figure out what went wrong and this and that. I actually am going to phrase it a little bit differently. I would phrase it that the biggest challenge for Leon Rose going into this summer is to figure out, or is to say, not that like we know things went wrong in this series and we know things have gone wrong with this team in every series and throughout the regular season, but like, is it like, what are the level of changes that need to be made? And to that extent, like, do you look at this series, if you're Leon Rose, and you say, you know what, with everything that we screwed up or they screwed up or that did not go our way, we are a once in a blue moon occurrence at the end of game 1 away from at least having a great chance to win game 7 at home in Madison Square Garden and go to the first finals that the franchise has been to since 1999.
Mm-hmm.
Do you take that attitude? And do you take that attitude and look at it and say, another year together, we bolster the bench? That's really all they could, again, and essentially run it back? Or do you look at it a different way and you say, there is something about the mix here, there is something about the brew that is off, and I do not envy Leon Rose ahead of this summer because, again, first conference finals in 25 years. And if he actually does make a major change, now, maybe it'll be sort of a major change that is like so obvious on his face that it's a no-brainer. We'll see if that presents itself. But I think it's a great point that you made, and I wanted to just it's even more nuanced than you made it out to be.
Yeah. So this is a deeper level of analysis. It's finding the root cause of the failure to get to the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Because on one end, as an executive, you have to look at from like a 20,000 foot view. You have to examine the whole season in totality and say, what were our goals? Did we meet them? Did we exceed them? What was our development areas? Where can we improve? To go with your point, John, here's the next level of analysis. If X was better, would we have made the finals? What are the trends that led to X?
Yeah.
And X being either the reason why you feel like you didn't make it farther or your glaring issues. What are the issues? What are the deficiency areas of this team? And what do you feel are the root causes of those? And then you have to determine whether it's a blip or whether it's a trend. And if it's a trend, then that means you have to eliminate whatever's causing the trend.
Yeah.
And that piece, whatever's causing the trend, has been fueling civil wars within this fan base, amongst the analysts, amongst the fans, amongst the players, amongst everybody. Where once again, I think we were having this conversation. We might have been you. I talked to too many of y'all, so I forget it. At this point, I'm talking to all of y'all at the same. I'm like Dr. Manhattan. I'm talking to all of y'all at the same time, and at different points in time at the same time. It's January 1st, 2025. I'm talking with Jonathan Macri. It's May 31st. I'm talking to Jonathan Macri. You have to really think about this and say to yourself, where can we improve? Where can we improve, and what is it? Because I think to me, you're going to have to improve the bench. We know that, but you have some glaring questions. One, who's going to be the fifth starter? Is this a person that's already on the team, or do you got to go get that? Who's going? What are the upgrades that you need on the bench? And then the $1 million question. Is this coaching staff the staff that you want to keep? Because I think we were talking about it, and somebody had made a comment saying that Leon Rose has to choose between Cat and Tibbs. In essence, saying whatever. I saw that they say they can Cat and Tibbs, and I think to use a Macriism to put it in better context, do you choose this roster? If you're choosing the coach, you got to give him a roster to maximize himself. Well, if you're choosing the roster, then you got to give him a coach that's going to maximize them.
So, and I think everything, I agree with everything you're saying, and this would be a good place to finish up and then we'll do the fanatics. The reason why this is so difficult. This is going to be so difficult. Why I think this will be so difficult for Leon Rose is you could watch this team on one night and see all kinds of deficiencies. And you could watch the same team the next night or whatever they play the next game and not see any of those things. And you have to ask yourself, what is true? What is real with this team? And is the inconsistency the thing that I started the show with, talking about why I'm not terribly upset sitting here, because I've long ago accepted that this is just who this team is, and I'm not going to get emotionally devastated by them just deciding to show up one night and taking a big wet dump on the court like they did tonight, in the sense that they turned the ball over 18 times and gave up 34 points on those turnovers. I'm not going to allow that to hurt me. Is that part of their DNA? Is that quality of them where they'll, on a random whatever night, they're going to go out there and they're just going to look like, hey, this isn't our night. I don't know the answer to that question. I really don't know the answer to that question. And I don't know, is it more time together that's the answer? Is it just a slight change? Is it a change to the coach? Is it a more fundamental change? I don't know the answer to the question. What I know for a fact is that there is no way, and this is the other reason why I should have said this at the top, why I'm not, terribly upset tonight. There is no way that a team that just went out and played the games that they played over the course of the last 2 months or month and a half, whatever it's been in the playoffs, that is not a championship team. You cannot win a championship with the level of inconsistency that these Knicks have shown. So that's why I'm like, am I bummed we're not getting to a game 7? Of course I'm bummed we're not. I would have loved to see a game 7. I would love to go back to the finals. It's been great to see it. It's been great for KFS. I'd like, it'd be awesome. Was this team beating that Oklahoma City team?
It would have been an absolute honor to get clapped by the Oklahoma City.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Look,
it would have been an absolute honor because I have no smoke with that fan base. But I'm gonna mess your head up a little bit, John.
No,
the inconsistency is the deficiency.
Yeah, exactly. No, that 100%.
That's the deficiency.
We are in agreement. That's easy to identify. How do you solve it?
That's the $1 million question, because you have to decide: is it the coach? Is it the players? Or is the answer yes?
Or is it the
and
mix?
If the answer is yes, I don't know what, because here's the thing. I still believe this was game 100, right?
Yeah.
I still believe after 100 games, everything that we saw, a lot of those wins were in spite of themselves.
Yeah.
A lot of those wins were in spite of themselves. I don't think they were maximized to the most of their ability. I don't think a lot of the players showed up consistently. I think there's there's enough blame pie to go around. But the question once again remains, do you think this is a personnel issue or a scheme issue? Or even the greater thing is, what can overcome the other? Which one can overcome the other more to be the most successful? Because I'm sure, if Tony Bradley was able to play, function well, I'm sure he would have been in there ahead of Thomas Bryant. But then Thomas Bryant comes out here, and now he's Jokic from 3-point range, right? Like, this is the thing.
It's a hard conversation to have, especially it's like one of those logic games where I bought one for my daughter a few months ago, where you have to try to get a little red car out of the maze, and you have to move all the other cars to be able to get the red car out. Every time you'll move one car and you'll solve one problem, but you'll create another one.
Mm-hmm.
And looking at this roster and frankly, maybe looking at this coach, even you can pinpoint issues even within the larger dynamic of the conversation we're having right now about the inconsistency is the deficiency. Okay, where's these inconsistency come from? Well, you can point to this thing. And you say, all right, well, let's remove that. Well, then all of a sudden, if you remove the thing that is part of the inconsistency, well, you are likely creating some other hole elsewhere. And that's why the question about, is it a slight change or is it a big change, is such a complicated one, because here's what I know. A slight change to the roster, adding a mid-level exception person to the bench or whatever, Tyler Kolek coming around and maybe being ready to contribute a second year, whatever you want to say, whatever the little thing is, it's not going to change the bigger part of this conversation that we're having. Because those fundamental building blocks that lead to this team being who they are still going to be there. Now, there are a lot of people who say, well, change out the coach. That's going to be the thing that makes it all work. And to that I say, maybe. I don't know. I think there's probably more to it than that. And we could just leave it at that for now, because I'm sure I'm going to be talking about it a lot more. I don't have anything else. Anything else from you, Jeff, before we get to the next part of the show?
Well, let me just say it's been honor and a pleasure to rock with KFS for this whole year. It's like my first year full time KFS, doing this amongst other things. But shout out to this community. This community is awesome. You continue to show up and show out, game in, game out, sending your super chats, connecting with folks, connecting on multiple platforms. This is the greatest fan base in sports. I don't care what anybody says. We're the greatest fan base representing one of the most hated cities on the planet just for being us. Just for being us. A city where they call walking outside of a building to cheer a parade because their cities can't do that. They have to tend to the cows, and Ma and Pa tell them that they're going to have to rustle the cattle.
Oh boy.
before they get in. Their cities close at 1 a.m. when that's just when the night's getting started. You know,
that is
y'all have endured the wrath of national media and folks trying to get off their 5-minute comedy routines for better looks, Knicks for clicks, all of that. And you keep coming back every year. You keep representing. I walk around the city and I see, this is not anecdotal, this is fact. I walk around this city and I see nothing but Knicks gear, because when the Knicks are up, no other fan base represents worldwide, citywide, especially in this seat. The Knicks are the heartbeat of New York City, just like the fans are the heartbeat of KFS. So I admire y'all. I am a supporter with y'all, and I'm a supporter of y'all. We will have our day. That's what's the beauty of being a Knicks fan, because we will have our day. And the day we have our day is going to be the worst day for everybody else.
Yeah. Because
that last sliver of slander that they had against this franchise, against this team, against its history, because all of a sudden it's bad to honor, it's beneath people to honor legends of your team. But watch when other teams start biting off of it the next season. This is the last sliver that they have. Oh, the Knicks haven't won a championship. When they do, when we're able to celebrate, it will be one of the singular best experiences of your life. And I want to be here. I want my heart beating. I want to be alive, my feet on the ground to support with you, because that will be the series finale of the NBA, the series finale possibly of New York City, because we are going to celebrate like they celebrate in Europe, like they celebrate in other parts of the world, like soccer fans celebrate. That's what the Knicks fan base is. We are the soccer fans of the NBA. We travel like it, we represent it like it, and people are jealous because they cannot be us. So don't waver. Don't waver. Use this playoff pain as a callus to make you stronger. We are like a basketball. We hit the ground, we bounce back up. And we're ready for action. Kinetic energy, not potential. It's going to be beautiful. And this fan base, KFS, is a beautiful part of my life, of all of our lives, and a part of this Knicks community. So I appreciate y'all. I appreciate you, John. I know DJ is going to come in and he's going to have the whiteboard on, and it's going to be like Gruden and Macri. They're going to break it down, everything and what's going on. But for now, don't lose sight on the fact that this was a successful season, even if it had a disappointing end. Just don't lose that. Maybe you'll think about it tomorrow. It's hard to think about it tonight, but for the next day, when the sun rises and you know you've seen the next day, understand that you can reflect and feel good about where the Knicks went.
Beautifully said, Jeff. Got nothing to add. I just appreciate you and thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for holding it down while I had to pop out amidst some chaos, brother.
If I was thinking, I would have came back for you in a suit. I would have came back in a suit for you, but my brain ain't working that quickly. So, but thank you. I appreciate y'all. I think we're gonna have a
DJ is going to tag in for you. Okay.
DJ Zullo coming into the game, replacing Jeff Johnson.
Jeff, right, you're my man. It's always a pleasure, man. We'll keep talking.
I'll hang up and listen.
Be good, brother.
Thank you, man.
What's up, my friend? Bud? I'm good. I heard your opening. I kind of had the same sort of scenario when my wife, towards the end, asked me how I was doing, and I just was like, I'm doing okay. And it didn't feel like it was the moment I anticipated happening as I processed the thought of this team losing.
It's so fucked up. I feel so. It's weird. I feel bad. I feel wrong. I feel inauthentic.
Well, it's you. You are authentic, and it's the hangover of what game one was. Yeah. It just a weird game. You know, I didn't expect, obviously, the turnovers and the fact that they were so bad in transition, but to me, and I know the Knicks will get criticized for how they turned it over. It did feel like the Pacers played at a level of aggression that the Knicks at this stage in the series and maybe at this stage in their team building just weren't equipped to handle at all. And then it's like the combination ball pressure plus the fact that even on makes, they're running out. And obviously on misses and turnovers, they're running. And it is so much mentally to have to do this game after game after game. I spoke before the season series started about how this is the most mentally stressing team the Knicks are going to face all season, potentially, and all playoffs. And it turned out that way. This is a brutal team to play against. And you can have games where maybe the Pacers don't play up to their standard in terms of like how fast and how quick they want to play. But when they put the pedal to the metal and they lock in, it's a really tough team to contain. And that was front and center in this one. Obviously disappointed in so many of the things. I mean, the Towns defense should be the big red flag of the night. And, you know, we saw moments. We saw game one against Detroit. We saw some nice moments against the Celtics, some nice moments in this series. Yeah,
remember
right.
Fourth quarter. Remember Towns' fourth quarter game one against Detroit? We were like, holy shit.
He turned the corner.
That's it.
He's figured it out.
After almost 10 seasons. Figured it out.
I mean, it was a while to watch, and it just slowly deteriorated and never really reached a level of competence. And the Mitchell Robinson piece of it sort of masked a lot of those issues. Yeah. But you can't rely on those two to play together for long enough stretches to where you are not going to be exposed with Towns on the back end. And I'm sure you're going to hear a lot about stuff, and it's already starting to come out about defensive schemes and defensive execution and lack thereof from your center. And those things are real and will have to be wrestled with when you are considering how to build out this team going forward. I think Towns as a defensive piece and how to manage that in terms of the players is the biggest question going into the offseason.
Three things. Number one, kudos to you. You had the balls to pick Pacers in 6. What didn't make you very popular? I know there's no one on the planet who wishes you were wrong more than you. You Correct. Picked it. You can take a bow for that. That's number one. Number two, also kudos to you, because you have been saying since opening night, for as brilliantly talented as this team was and all of the different individual abilities of the players on their roster, the one collective skill that they lacked collectively, ball movement, passing, dribbling, quick thinking, all like to be connected on a string on offense without a moment's hesitation.
Yeah.
And did that not end up doing them in as much as anything else over the close of the series?
Yeah, and it really felt like in tonight's game, the ball handling deficiencies, when you have Landry Shamet and DeLon Wright, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges having to initiate your offense against that ball pressure, that tells you all you need to know. And obviously Brunson you can't ask him. And that was something we talked about last postseason where Knicks were asking probably too much and to their detriment to handle against that ball pressure. Knicks, I thought, did a concerted effort to get him off the ball a lot more in this series, but it also the trade-offs, and you spoke a lot about unintended consequences and trade-offs and problems you're creating by solving one. When you take Brunson off the ball and you are Mikal Bridges and you're getting it up beyond past half court, but now there's 16-15 on the shot clock, you have time for one action. Whereas the Pacers, if they're not scoring within 2-3 seconds, they're getting it up the floor most times with 19-18 on the shot clock. And that's a big, big difference. And I'm sure if you look at the numbers in terms of shots taken when 5 seconds of the shot clock, the Pacers are going to have a lot of those buckets where the Knicks are taking it with 5 seconds or fewer left in their possessions. It's a big difference.
And look, in regards to it's funny, in regards to the transition defense and in regards to the Knicks' difficulties just getting the freaking ball off the court, I think they both fall into the same bucket because Andrew Nembhard, Aaron Nesmith, Ben Shepherd, whatever. Tyrese Halliburton, go to TJ McConnell. Obi Toppin, literally go through every player on the roster. None of those guys are too proud to pick up 94 feet. Now, is it all about pride? No, it's also about energy. And they know that they're only going to have to play whatever it is,
right?
28, 29, 30, 31 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the situation for the Knicks. They are not that deep a team. Or at least they did not, that depth was not utilized, or it was not accessed, or, in the way that the Pacers depth was. But there's also another part of this where it's like, are we sure OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges at this point in their careers, are we sure they want to be picking up 94 feet, or Jalen Brunson for that matter? Or
I don't think so, because they started in game 5 of the series. So I think if it was something that was in their DNA, it would have been a priority to start the series, or you would have seen it before game 5 in a playoff series.
And then
to your point.
And then the transition defense part of it, I mean, again, that is a collective commitment by all 5 guys.
Yeah, and it's also just extremely hard to do. And I know Stan Van Gundy just was like relentlessly just disparaging the Knicks' effort in that area. And I know it's part effort, but I also think you have to also contextualize the fact that it is, and I don't think he did a good enough job talking about this. It is a mental strain to have to get back in that way on every single possession. It's strenuous, it's hard, and that's why the Pacers are who they are. And
it's their superpower. That's their superpower.
Thing. Yeah.
That's why they're going to the finals.
Yeah. And last thing before we get into I know we have some segments we have to get to, in terms of what to look for going forward, I thought you hit the nail on the head about trying to figure out solutions without opening up Pandora's box in other areas. But
can I stop you for a sec?
Sure.
Because the last thing I want to say before on your point, the Towns defense point.
Yeah.
That's the summer. That's the summer. It's the summer. Last summer was the summer Cat came in. This is going to be the summer. Does Cat go out? I don't think for a second that the conversation is going to be about any other player on the roster.
Right. It's funny. It's like they had a previous relationship. I think it's going to be 2 parts. It's the coach and then Towns as the player. I think those are the 2 aspects to this team, this front office. They have to decide if the coach is the right person to lead this group, and is Towns. And I'm sure if Tom is back, maybe that changes what they think about Towns and vice versa. I think they're really intertwined, but I think those 2 figures this offseason are going to be the 2 most critical pieces of where this front office has to look, judge, and figure out if they are, as a tandem or one, and not the other, are what you need to build going forward to make this team a legitimate championship caliber team. And that's going to be the big question. And I think the base of this franchise is really good. It's really healthy. They're in a really good spot. I don't think that can't be overlooked right now. Obviously a lot of despair and frustration, but they are in a really good spot as an organization right now. Yeah. They have to just get to the next step, which of course is the biggest and hardest step, but they can do it. But it's going to require some real hard look at what the coach is bringing and what their center/power forward is bringing to the table, and if that's good enough.
I'm happy you put it that way, Deej, because it has to be about what the coach is bringing. We could sit here and we could debate back and forth about was tonight's loss on Tom Thibodeau? I don't know if it was on Tom any more than it was any other loss was on him. But is he bringing enough to make you say, yeah, he's our guy because of what he is bringing, because of the value add? Or might there be someone else out there who will add more value in? Look, is there any coach out there who's going to teach Karl-Anthony Towns how to defend with consistency? No. But there are other areas of this team that if you just look at how they operate, you say that could probably be a little bit better on the whole. And is there a person out there who you feel like can lift you in those areas and not there's no possibility that the bottom is going to drop out, which I don't think that is a possibility.
I don't think that
way.
But there could be a scenario where you do, and this is the danger of moving on from a extremely, maybe the most stable coach in the NBA, is that you make a bad choice and you bring in the wrong guy, and now you take a step back, and that creates its own set of problems. So I think there's a lot of the narrative out there is you change the coach, you fix all the problems, or you fix the big problems. That very well could be the case, but you can also open up bigger ones and then not solve the ones that you intended to solve. And I think that is where it's when you actually have to make the decision, it's much tougher than just say, fire the coach, replace the coach. This is a huge, huge decision to either stay with the pathway of the head coach or move on. Because if you make the wrong decision, then you're setting the franchise back.
Yep. I don't know that I have an opinion right now about what they will do. I can just sit here and I could tell you personally, pretty indifferent. I don't know that I don't know what I think they will do. I think they will make a significant move this summer. I'll just say that. I don't know what it's going to be, but I think they will make a significant move this summer.
Yep. I think that's fair. I think you could look at this team and say, we can make a couple changes around the edges and not necessarily run it back, but just improve enough without making wholesale changes and be okay. I'm pretty skeptical that is going to be how they operate.
The fact that that the likes of Giannis Antetokounmpo and Kevin Durant, their seasons have been over for a month and a half, respectively, and we haven't heard other than like some faint things. There really hasn't been anything about any of that. That's interesting to me because it spoke to me at least that there was a domino that maybe some folks were waiting to fall. And I wonder if with the Knicks loss tonight, that was the last domino.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating. Last year obviously was a wild offseason. And I didn't anticipate this offseason potentially being as crazy, but
maybe it won't.
Maybe it won't.
I absolutely be wrong.
Yeah, I think it might be though.
We'll see. All right, you want to stick around for Fanatics?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so here we go. Betting and Sweating, presented by our friends at Fanatics Sportsbook. How you doing? What are we doing? We're doing our betting and sweating picks, which our last betting and sweating picks. That's kind of sad for the season. DeLon Wright, one or more threes made. What a shot in the dark by Sean with a W. Plus 230. All he had to do was make a three. He took two.
And they were so open. The one in the corner, left corner, was so open.
They were wide open. I didn't like either of them. I was like, that's not the shot that I want being taken right now. Alas, that did not hit. Sorry, Sean. All you got to do is get one pick was Jalen Brunson. All you got to do is get one steal. DJ, there were 6 Knicks that had a steal at some point in tonight's game. Every Knick that played, actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say every Knick that played double-digit minutes, but 6 different Knicks had a steal tonight. You know who didn't? Who was not among them?
Yeah, JB. Couldn't bring it home for you.
Couldn't bring it home. And then last but not least, Knicks, the absolute saddest betting and sweating pick of all time. Andrew Claudio, Knicks money line, plus 145. Didn't get there. I do want to give myself a small pat on the back. I love giving myself pats on the back. Who am I kidding? I made one bet for tonight in actual Fanatics or my app right here. I bet the over, and I got it. So
good for you.
Very happy.
Good for you. A small victory.
I said 20.5. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. Listen, you could earn 10% back on your bets, win or lose. Use fan cash on team gear on fanatics.com or bonus bets and profit boosts in the Fanatics Sportsbook app. Stay tuned for exclusive offers all playoffs long, which is to say, stay tuned for exclusive offers until right now. That's it. All right. Do we have a promo? Yes, here we go. Get that banner off the screen so I could read the thing that's underneath it. Okay. $100 in fan cash. Thank you, Knicks fans. Some dizzying highs, some maddening lows, but the best Knicks season in decades. We hope to see you at Fanatics Fest to celebrate sports in the best sports town in the world. I'm so excited. Fanatics Fest is now under 3 weeks away. It is the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday 3 weeks from now, June 20th to the 22nd at the Jacob Javits Center. There's a special link that you could click in the description to this episode to get your tickets. Knicks Film School is going to be there. We're very excited to be there. I'm excited to be there. I'm planning on spending essentially my whole Saturday and Sunday at Fanatics Fest. Also, I'll be there during the day on Friday if there is stuff. I'm pretty sure there's stuff during the day. I actually don't have a schedule yet, but I'm going to be there as much as I could humanly possibly be there. And it's going to be a very cool, great, fun thing. So there we go. And I think on that note, ready to move on. Deej, anything from you before we get to Super Chats? And I'll let you go.
Listen, it was, I said it was the weirdest good team in January that I'd ever seen. And I feel like they carried that over right throughout the playoffs, so up to the very end. But a lot of the highs were pretty awesome. I know Andrew came on here and talked about some of those, that Piston game 3, even the game 1, Boston game 4, obviously Boston game 6. So there's some magical moments that I will eventually be able to hold in high regard once the rawness of the loss kind of wears off and dissipates a little bit. But there's as I said earlier, a lot to build on. It's just a lot of pressure now. Probably the most pressure Leon Rose has had to make the right decisions here because the team is close. They have to get over the hump, and there's going to be some pathways there. I think multiple, and you have to pick the right one because you have some guys there that are 27, 28, 29 years old now, some pushing 30. This is the window. The window's now, and you have to make the right decision here. So Leon Rose, I'm sure he's going to get to work tomorrow on figuring that out. But there's a whole lot of pressure on him to make it, and not a lot to work with in terms of assets.
Well,
but there's enough to maybe, if you use a couple big ones, to make a significant move if that's the way you want to go.
Take the maybe out of it, DJ. It's the most pressure he's ever been under, and it's not close. Yeah. And it is, as you said, precisely because of what he did last summer. And never forget it. All sitting around on a town hall when the Bridges trade came down. Even in that moment, as we all acknowledged, holy shit, this is a lot to give up. The vibes were through the roof because it was that was a move made absent any pressure, unless you want to talk about the 2021-22 season, there was never any real decision that needed to be made about this head coach.
Well, would you say the most pressure he had was the Towns trade because he didn't have a center on the roster? Hartenstein left. Maybe they didn't anticipate that. They had to make a move. They went big, and
But even that was not a trade made under pressure because there were lesser moves. There were stopgap moves he could have made for a center.
Yeah, he could have done that
without thinking twice and without disrupting his roster. Now, all of those, now that we've seen what all of that has yielded, and I think the collective opinion is it's good. It's very good. At times, it's great. This is not a championship team as of right now. And if that's the goal, then what are you going to do? You know?
Yeah.
So pressure's on.
Yep. And thank you. Thank you, everyone. KFS, the community, the faculty, just doing these has been one of the true blessings. And we will obviously not be going anywhere. There's a lot of off season to produce and to cover, and we'll be there as we always are. And thank you for allowing me to join the ride. It's been a lot of fun.
DJ,
as we continue, it's not stopping, of course.
I quite literally do not know what I would do without your expertise and your support, and just like you. I don't know. I don't say it.
No, you say it plenty, and I appreciate it. I do.
Well, one thing I do want to say is, you have made me such a smarter observer and understander of this sport, and it makes my life easier. It makes what I do, feasible. So thank you for that, and thank you for coming on tonight. Appreciate it, man.
Of course, man. We love the game. It's a beautiful sport, and that's why we do it, and we'll keep doing it. And so it's a lot of fun, even when it sucks. But thank you all, and get your feelings out tonight, and we'll start fresh tomorrow.
Sounds good.
Take care.
Thanks, Tej.